The House of Torres, like so many great families, was born of humble origins. Simple counts given status through their faith and useful deeds to the Roman rulers of Sardinia in days gone by. It was their ambition and luck that allowed a simple family to become rulers of one of Europe's most feared powers. In their over 700-year reign from the island stronghold of Sassari, it was only due to family infighting that they finally sealed their fate, allowing the Bonaparte Dynasty to take power. Napoleon II rules now in Sardinia, though he is not half the man his father was before, having spent his entire life trying to cement the legacy of the new dynasty, as the world changed swiftly around him. In 1858, few still in truth remained loyalists to the corrupt king whose good diplomacy had done little to inspire confidence in the deteriorating military and stagnant economy. News had come months before that Simon Torres, the son of Castor, planned to set sail to Italy, with the goal of claiming the throne of his ancestors, as Napoli and other hubs of rebellion gleefully awaited his return. And so it was. On a calm spring day in early May, a familiar face stepped upon the dock of Naples in the old military uniform of his father. The foreign heir was met by a jubilant, well-armed crowd, and shook hands with several generals and admirals who had taken their soldiers and sailors to await him there. The nation of Sardinia was fiercely divided, with much of the general staff having abandoned Napoleon due to motivations of both pragmatism and loyalty to the old family. But despite this, the king was not without his allies inside and out of the old Mediterranean power, making the civil war that was beginning one not to be decided without blood and a test of martial resolve. This is House Torres' last chance at returning to power. Simone would either take back the family throne or die in the attempt. Civil war is once more upon Sardinia. After the civil war that preceded the rise of Napoleon I, our country was thrown into turmoil, but many in our country still wish for the monarchs of old, House Torres. It is clear that the line of Napoleon must end. And as such, he is ready to fight out this war for all that it is worth. That being said, they have Corsica as well, which has always been kind of a hive of rebellion. And we're seeing that once again with them obviously defecting. The lands that we will continue to control are North Africa, the little bit of Tripoli we have, and then Sardinia proper. Everywhere else has gone against us, essentially. The Bavarians are absolutely destroying the armies that we have sent to the north to defend Ferrara. No surprise there. They fought very recently a war of Lombardy in a similar situation where they absolutely annihilated them. To be frank, there's few armies in Europe that could stand up to Bavaria, and we are certainly not one of them. The entire navy being on the side of the rebels is not making this any easier either. We're essentially under siege. We can't even get troops out of Sardinia at this point. We would not be able to. So we're just stuck in Sardinia with our forces trying to hold out, waiting for a miracle. I thought this would be more equal because the Americans would fight with us, but they abandoned us. I mean, they do have a war of their own they're fighting right now. Young Theodore Ficomont, the Emperor of America, is currently fighting a liberal revolt, much like we are. Sailors have been complaining about the harsh punishments they receive in the Navy. Meetings will continue. Yeah, we just cannot hold them to save our life. I mean, we're really... It's an army of Somalia that is holding the line for us in Sardinia proper, and they cannot stand up to proper Bavarian army, simply put. Oh, Cuba got knocked out too. Oh boy. Just Somalia and Brazil still fighting out. Sassari and Lagador have already fallen. We don't have the capital. Wait, hold on, there's a holdout in the capital. There is still street fighting ongoing in Sassari right now. Over 40,000 troops have entrenched themselves within the city proper. As many fortresses, given it's built on the hills and mountains too, it will be semi-defensible. We've never had this island fall before. So the amount of defenses, both on like the sea and inside of it, that we would have built up to prepare for things like this would be immense. So taking it will be very difficult. The rebels army here. Brazil's out too. It's also the Bavarians. Not gonna hold this. Desperate defenders are not enough here. 150,000 Bavarians are marching south right now. Sassari has fallen now as well. The last holdouts in the south. Man, we have certainly fallen since the era of Solomon, that's for sure.
If we had more men, we could actually fight this. So we'll say that Napoleon II is one of the last holdouts of his armies in the mountains here. And when this is taken, he will be surrounded. And obviously peace will have to be given at that point. Let's start with who's in power right now. It's a very interesting conglomeration of parties, but it is a monarchy that has taken power. So technically the king has the ability here to dismiss the government and put in place a new one. Given the power of these groups now, especially the radicals, he's going to have to be very, very careful. He's very experienced, very well-traveled, very interesting guy. He has a lot of different influences upon him. And as such, we're dealing with a very different guy than we ever have in terms of someone who has been on the throne of Naples. I mean, even compared to the throne of Sardinia, compared to even Napoleon himself. So let's look at him really quickly. His interest group is business. He obviously probably cultivated a lot of wealth that his family would have still taken and owned within Sardinia and within the company, given that when Napoleon took power and they became an empire. He's a jingoist, so very expansionist, being raised in a very militaristic Japanese empire. That makes a lot of sense. He is tough, he is ambitious, and he is an explorer. So for him and for his current government, he has seized power with the help of outside influences, as well as those who brought him to power, many of which he would not see eye to eye with. I mean, he's not a conservative, but he's certainly not a liberal, right? I mean, rather extreme liberal. So for the radical liberals, the first thing we're going to do now that we've taken power in Sardinia is overnight, we're going to seek to immediately push all of the radical elements out of our government, essentially. After the war, and upon being crowned in a ceremony in Sassari, the city being completely war-torn, including the palace, in a ruined throne room, Simon Torres will be proclaimed, and upon that being done, he essentially will institute a counter-revolution, a counter-coup overnight, where many of the leaders of the radical liberals, trade unionists, and socialists will have been gathered there for the ceremony and the crowning. After his crowning and the ceremony was completed, he will then have in the chamber the leaders of the radical elements of his supporters arrested on the spot and proclaim a new government only with the non-radical elements that obviously support him. We'd have the liberals in government, we wouldn't have the radical liberals, and we can't. So we're going to go with a very illegitimate government here to start. We're going to exile the leaders of the radical liberals, given obviously he does not see eye to eye with these groups, but also undubitably due to the fact that he would have been aware that many of these elements and many of these groups would have been calling, frankly, for his removal and for the abandonment of the monarchy entirely. So he will do really the only option he has to centralize and keep power, and that will be to take radical action. The first thing we're going to do is obviously seek to reconcile and get back on good standing with the Japanese. Brazil is very hostile to us after the war. We can basically not reconcile with any of our old allies. A lot of Europe is very hostile to us now again as well. So we're basically back to square zero in terms of our foreign policy and alliances. So we're an illegitimate government too. Oh, this is going to be a dangerous time. Oh shit, we lost our customs unions, by the way. Cuba just left our customs union, as did Somalia. Fernando Condell completed his first official balloon flight with us and has set the first records. He got to an altitude of 7,590 meters. He went through 1,453 kilometers, and it only took him 35 hours. Very nice. Simon Torres mistook an enemy in the business interests. After accusing them of false charges, moderates in the business interests defected to the bureaucratic interest cause. Well, we can't show weakness, so we'll continue the course here. Send an expedition to the Pacific as well. That wouldn't be a bad idea. Admiral Ekrolani, an associate of the revolutionary radical liberals, is known to have some doubts about his convictions. It may be possible to use this hesitancy to the government's advantage. We can't reconcile with him, but maybe we can get him to stay loyal to us during the Civil War. So not only did we lose our customs union and all those cheap goods, but we don't have the relationship with the Chagatai he did either, so we will not be getting back our preferred trading status with the Chagatai. Beautiful. We can reform a proper government now. We'll reform over the professional interests and the business interests as well. A lot of the groups we pushed out of government during the Civil War have come back, including the conservatives and the bureaucratic interests as well. So there's actually some other groups that have the semblance of power that can support us. We're going to immediately put them in power. So essentially our government is basically just run by non-ideological forces right now. The professional interests, the business interests, obviously all those people have political opinions and ideology, but they're not like purely ideological. They're more practical, they're more pragmatic, and they can run a government with us right now. while we try and get the more radical groups to be a little lessened in power. Well, victory in the revolution, the provisional government under Torres is now able to formalize its desired form of rule over Sardinia. Smoke of revolutionary war has been cleared from the air, and with it the sense of profound uncertainty over which point of the provisional government desires to lead the nation. Or keeping the monarchy, obviously. Scientists from France told us today that one of their colleagues has discovered the previously unknown planet of Neptune. God damn it, they beat us. The manufacture of steam engines has become a profitable industry in Sardinia thanks to our sound investment in locomotive technology. These engines are already being employed across Sardinia railway lines. Beautiful. We have a son, Lorenzo Torres. He's religious, you little shit. God damn, child. He comes out of the womb of a full head of hair, and it's not a nice one. Hopefully stop paying the government employees. We need more money. Pay the military properly, though. Bavaria is invading Lithuania. God, they are such a menace to Europe right now. The left has been formed out of the bureaucratic interest. The agrarian party is formed with the trade unionists. They've gone basically pseudo-communist. And then the right has formed a party with the conservatives, the reactionaries, the church, the villages, the aristocracy, and the military forming a mega party. We're running things with basically just bureaucrats right now, and we're actually fairly legitimate. I don't know why. So we're gonna keep this as it is. I guess Simon is very popular. There's a great comment over our city. We're really rolling now. When we get that debt paid off, we can balance our economy a little bit more, stop completely taxing everyone. The labor movement. Just as the world becomes more industrialized, so too do the workers become more organized, campaigning for better wages and better working conditions. We've already heard about that by now. We'd be very aware of what it is, given how prevalent it is in Bavaria. 20-year-old Theodore de Fickelmont, look at that beard. What the hell is he putting on that? I mean, I could grow big beards at 20, but I don't know if I could have even done that. Holy hell, dude. The less anti-alcohol policy is hurting their electoral prospects as scores of thirsty voters flock to the right, hoping that a change in government will see an end to the country's temperance policies. Not really anything we can do. The Arts Academy of Corso Sardinia Lazio has become a major center of the realist movement, producing some of the finest works of our generation. Oh, we got it. So big. Trade agreement with the Shagatai. Once more, we finally got it back after a couple of years since the Civil War. The right has dominated the election. Holy hell. Elections just got completed. The right has taken absolutely swept in the election. Well, we're going to reform and work with the right. Conservatives, the reactionaries, the church, the villages. Conservatives weren't like innately not with the rebellion. I mean, the conservatives kind of, some of them backed up Napoleon II, but a lot of them wouldn't have either because he was very weak in many ways. So we've kind of just gone back to square zero. Conservatism, jingoism. Rather by accident, Leopoldo Mezzacapo discovered a new star. At the moment, it's still being debated after whom it will be named. We'll name it after Sardinia. The recent investment in Campania production at our furniture manufacturers has raised the question of who should get the credit for the boost in production. Businessmen, of course. They make money after all. People just work there. Fuck, they're doing it. Holy fuck, they're doing it. I didn't think they would. Bavaria's trying to form Germany. Oh, shit. Scandinavia, America, Castella, Austria, Lombardy, Hesse, Savoy have all entered against them. There's no way we get involved right now. Wow. Radical liberals have expressed their concern about government decisions, clearly favoring the interests of the business groups. Well, we certainly will not be favoring the radicals, so we'll continue to do it. The war is fully underway, by the way. Let's keep an eye on it. They've got so many fronts, that may be their downfall. But then again, the British kind of just get to do whatever they want. They've already pushed into the Netherlands. General fucking Longstreet is fighting in Europe in this timeline for America against communists. Oh, I love mega campaigns. God damn. Fucking Longstreet's the brigadier general for the American Empire. Fighting communist forces along the Alsace-Lorraine border. They're winning every single battle. No, they're losing to the Scandinavians, actually. Let's try and work with the Cubans again as well. See if we can get them back into a market. Sewage, now we're going to go for Queen Anne. A statue of King Simon Torres was commissioned and has been suggested that be displayed proudly in Algiers. Absolutely. I'll do dedicated staff officers for the military. Do an officer selection program. Napoleon instituted that, so we'd still have it. Ironically, the French are actually pushing in France. They're pushing in Brittany and Normandy. If they can push them out there, they still have to hold the entire Bavarian army, though. Around 180,000 dead on both sides. 300,000 wounded. Longstreet's getting absolutely his head caved in here again. Part of the reason is that the Bavarians have amazing commanders. I mean, they're really just Germany right now, is what they are, in all but name. And they're about to be in name when they win this war, which they will. The Americans are being the British. That's a time-honored tradition. General Charles Seraphine Pinchois. Saying that wrong. I keep forgetting the Americans are culturally French. This is actually terrifying, though. We've got two mega states in this timeline. Chagatai and Bavaria are both just... Scandinavia is holding here. They've got very modern equipment. They've got howitzers right now. Wow. Just as global exploitation law looks ready to pass, Fernandino Nunziante rallied their faction, now has the support it needs to pass without compromise. The Republic of Germany, radically liberal, radically left, universal suffrage, state atheism, cultural exclusion, collectivized agriculture. The British-Germany alliance timeline I was not expecting, though. That is the biggest thing that came out of left field. I see it. They are very liberal, now that I realize, but the church interests wish to strengthen our ties to the papal states through our shared faith. Absolutely not. After our loss of power, after House Torres being ousted and struggling so much to come back, I don't think we'd be above secret police, not gonna lie. Let's do it. We're gonna take that route. Simon Torres is many things. I wouldn't call him innately a very moral human being. He's very much in line with other Torres monarchs. Ambitious, capable, not evil, but not a very good man either, necessarily. All right, we want more naval bases. How are we looking on general military? 41 battalions. I want to get that up to 60, but there's no rush. 32 flotillas. I want to get that up to probably 50. So we need number 18. Secret police was on everyone's lips in every coffee house. Afterwards, Fernandino Nunziante was ready to press the professional interest to help pass the law. We could certainly use it. And that would be a big priority for our king right now. He wants to keep power. He's not trying to have his family ousted again from power. He's trying to cement a legacy. And we are going to be using secret police to keep power in the future. Alrighty. The war is done. So, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Super Germany, formed in a war of unification. Not only did Bavaria annex many of its client states, it annexed Bremen, Schleswig-Holstein, parts of Hesse and Poland, as well as almost all of Switzerland, Alsace-Lorraine, French-Comté, and Burgundy as well. That is fucking huge. They took on basically all of Europe to do it too. Ambassadors from the Chagatai have approached us about the possibility of acquiring land in Sinai in order to begin construction of a canal. Not an inch. Get the hell out. Nope. You have taken enough. You are not taking the Suez. When we are not poor bastards, we're going to build it. God fucking damn it. They claim the Sinai. The Voice of Saba, a popular newspaper read by the conservative class across Sardinia, has published an article by Fernando Nunziante advocating for the action of secret police. Send an expedition to the Pacific. Gonna send Giacomo Garcia. We'll send our admiral to survey the Pacific Ocean. There's still disagreement as to whether the research expedition should have a focus on, if so, which field a trip should focus. Let's do general research. It's more for prestige. The right has dominated in the elections once more, 83% of the vote. We also would be starting to think more about unification in Italy, especially after Germany has happened now. I'm sure Simon Torres would be thinking a lot about unifying Italy. The big thing is we're going to need allies for that, right? Germany is very interested in the region, and in order to unify, we're going to have to go against them. And they really fucking hate us now, too. They're very hostile to us. So without allies, we're not going to be able to unify. So diplomatically, we need to start reconsidering and finding more options here, too. Another one of our balloonists has died in an accident. A very, very risky profession. Preparations for the Pacific expedition are complete. Giacomo Garcia has chosen the Volta as his flagship. The journey will go down in history under the name the Volta Expedition. All right, let's head off. We own a lot of the islands in Oceania, so we'll have a lot of port of calls there for us to resupply on if needed. Oh boy. The early socialist movement did not grow from one united tradition, but converged as a mishmash of distinct philosophies, all vaguely oriented towards radical ends. By the mid-19th century, it became clear to all involved that the patchwork nature of the movement was untenable. Thus, the International Workingmen's Association, known retroactively as the First International, was founded as the first serious attempt to unite the various flavors of socialism around the world. Held, I'm sure, in Bavaria. One element of success they possess, numbers, but numbers weigh in the balance only if united by combination led by knowledge. Past experience has shown how disregard of that bond of brotherhood, which ought to exist between workmen of different countries and incite them to stand firmly by each other in their struggles for emancipation, will be chastised by the common discomfiture of their incoherent efforts. We have secret police. One of his first major huge changes to the government and Kingdom of Sardinia is that Simon Torres, in order to concentrate control for himself and his family into the future, has instituted secret police directly under the command of the king, which will obviously be funded by the Sardinian taxpayers. So that'll go a long way to ensure that we don't have to worry about losing power ever again. Hailing from a wide range of traditions, the members of the First International are not quite as united as some would hope. Their disagreements largely coalesce around two factions, the anarchists, led chiefly by Proudhon and Bakunin, and what the anarchists refer to as statist socialists, including Marxists, Owenites, Blanquists, and Republican nationalists of various oppressed nations. Treading fiery polemics as much as they cooperate, their disputes threaten the very existence of the coalition. The International only then can become a weapon for liberating the people when it frees itself, when it does not permit itself to be divided into two groups. The big majority, the blind tool of an uneducated minority. That is why its first duty is to imprint upon the minds of its members the science, philosophy, and policy of socialism. The socialists are no longer just a ragtag group of lofty intellectuals. Now that they have acquired a semblance of political power, their differences have also become all the more apparent, as local meetings are now dominated by debates over authoritarianism and the state. The anarchists have emerged as a particularly anti-authoritarian faction, are beginning to build their own organization. This revolutionary alliance excludes any idea of dictatorship and of control and directive power. It is, however, necessary for the establishment of this revolutionary alliance and for the triumph of the revolution over reaction that the unity of ideas and revolution action find an organ in the midst of the popular anarchy, which will be the life and energy of the revolution. This organ should be the secret and universal association of the International Brothers. By themselves, the anarchists of the early socialist movement are hardly a united front. The two main currents of anarchism are represented by Proudhon, whose mutualism promotes a society of free exchange, and Bakunin, whose collectivism pushes for the full abolition of private property. In practice, the anarchists oppose hierarchical organization and party discipline in favor of free and organic association, while stressing the value of direct deeds. Not from the top to the bottom, but imposing a seemingly unity and order on human society as the state attempts without regards to the differences of interest arising from differences of occupation. On the contrary, the International organizes the masses from the bottom upwards, taking the social life of the masses, their real aspirations, as a starting point, and encouraging them to unite in people according to their real interests in society. The other side of the First International consists of a diverse set of socialists, pejoratively known as the statists by the anarchists. Unlike the anarchists, they attempt to participate in bourgeoisie politics in addition to economic struggles, either to achieve reforms or to advance workers' consciousness. To the more radical members of this group, status was a misnomer. They held the abolition of the state as a long-term goal of socialism, while denouncing direct anarchism as undisciplined rhetoric. One should never believe that it is of small significance to have workers in parliament. If one stifles their voices, or if one ejects them, the reprisals and oppression exercise a deep effect on the people. If, on the other hand, they can speak with a parliamentary tribune, as do Bibble and Liebknecht, the whole world listens to them. True. You need a platform for anything. The Marxists have put forward a series of resolutions to, among other things, declare the necessity of a proletarian party and expel the anarchists from operating a supposed secret alliance within the International. Anarchism will get to stay, so the resolution will fail, and we're going to go alt history.